This past weekend, the world of professional wrestling lost two of the greatest and most well-known referees in the history of professional wrestling. I apologize for the small frame. This is the only one I could get of the two of them together. The gentleman on your left, his name was Dave Hebner. He passed away this past Friday or Saturday at the age of 73. The man on your right, Tim White. He passed away yesterday at the age of 68. Tonight, here on Ridiculously Raw, we will pay our respects to these two legendary referees. Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and StreamYard.com today. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by the phenom Michael Bullock, fresh off another one of our legendary Raw chats as always. And never easy when we have to start a show the way we have to here tonight. But in this case, we do have to start it off. These two legendary referees both passing away within a 24-hour stretch. It's very sad to think about it. These were two of the all-time greats when it comes to referees in the world of professional wrestling. Definitely paved the way for the referees of today, especially in the WWE. And you may have noticed that when Raw came on the air tonight, they only did the in loving memory of Tim White. They did not do anything for Dave Hebner. But, it is what it is. But they did do tributes to both of them on their various social medias. And, when you think of Dave Hebner, you think of all the legendary matches that he refereed in his storied career. The first one that immediately comes to mind, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the 5-star Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship match that stole the show at WrestleMania 3. 2 years later, he was the referee when the Mega Powers exploded. Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. And of course, the last really great match he ever refereed, WrestleMania 7. Also involving Randy Savage, but it was the Macho King Randy Savage versus the Ultimate Warrior in a career-threatening match. Those were the three greatest matches he ever refereed. Of course, he refereed some other notable matches, of course. The very first SummerSlam, 1988, he was the referee when the Ultimate Warrior deliciously squashed the Honky Tonk Man in 31 seconds to become the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. And that's when the Warrior's career took off. Of course, he was also a referee in the first two Survivor Series events. He refereed several matches on the legendary Saturday Night's Main Event. Also worked on Superstars of Wrestling, Wrestling Challenge, and numerous other pay-per-view events, the Royal Rumble. The very first match in Royal Rumble history on the USA Network, 1988, it was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ravishing Rick Rude. Dave Hebner was the referee. And he was also one of the outside referees, along with another late great referee, Joey Morella. They were the outside referees, and I think Jimmy Corderas was out there as well for the inaugural Royal Rumble match. He also refereed those two legendary tag team Survivor Series elimination matches in 1987 and 1988. 87, Team Strikeforce versus Team Heart Foundation. He started as the referee, but then Smash threw him around, and another referee, Jack Kruger, took over for him. But he refereed the entire match in 1988, Team Powers of Pain versus Team Demolition. And we all know how that turned out. The very last match in WWE that he ever refereed was on an episode of SmackDown. It was the final SmackDown of 1999 in his hometown of Richmond, Virginia. A match involving D-Generation X. I remember that very vividly. but Dave Hebner, without a doubt, in my opinion, he was the most no-nonsense referee in the history of professional wrestling. He did not take any guff from anybody. He was never afraid to get in anybody's face. And that's why he was such a great referee. And of course, a part of that Hebner family, of course, his twin brother, Earl Hebner, and his nephew, Earl's son, Brian Hebner. Our condolences and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the entire Hebner family, starting with brother Earl and nephew Brian. And I'll let you know, the two of them, Earl and Brian Hebner, had a beautiful moment last night as part of Impact Wrestling Slammiversary pay-per-view during the 10-man tag team match with the Impact Originals and Honor No More. Earl Hebner, well, Brian Hebner was the referee for the match, but Brian Hebner got taken out, ref bump, and Earl Hebner counted the 1, 2, 3 for Team Impact Originals, and then father and son, Brian and Earl Hebner, pointed up to the heavens, not just for brother and Uncle Dave, but they also did it for Tim White as well. Now, Tim White was from mine and Michael Bullock's neck of the woods. He was from right here in Rhode Island, Cumberland, Rhode Island. He used to have that bar, the Friendly Tap, where the Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk, used to have those legendary barroom brawls during the Attitude Era of Monday Night Raws. Whenever Monday Night Raw came to Providence and the Providence Civic Center back then, or whenever they did a pay-per-view or a TV, Tim was nice enough to let them do that. But Tim White was known for more than just refereeing. He was also known as being one of the very best friends of the late, great eighth wonder of the world, the very first inductee ever into the WWE Hall of Fame, and that was, of course, Andre the Giant. Well documented, the legendary friendship that Tim White and Andre the Giant had, and they're going to be reunited up in heaven, no doubt about that, and they're going to be raising some hell up there, no question. But you think of Tim White, you think of all the legendary matches he refereed. One that immediately comes to mind, the Hell in a Cell match, Judgment Day, 2002, Triple H, Chris Jericho, where unfortunately his career ended that night when he suffered a career-ending injury, when he took a very vicious bump off the Hell in a Cell cage, damaged his shoulder, and he was never the same after that. Although he did referee one more match, and that was at WrestleMania 20, when Chris Jericho and Christian went at it. And he definitely had some memorable matches that he refereed. There was a Coliseum video exclusive, a lumberjack match between Bret Hart and Owen Hart for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. He counted the fall in it, and we all thought for a moment that Owen Hart was actually the World Wrestling Federation champion, but I don't know what in the world happened, but they reversed the decision. The match continued, and then Bret went on to win, and Tim White was the referee for that match. And he also some other Tim White memories that I have go back to the 1995 Royal Rumble when Jeff Jarrett won his first Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship, beating Razor Ramon. He counted the 1, 2, 3 for Double J. Of course, how about WrestleMania 2000, that infamous Hardcore Battle Royal? He was the primary referee for that match, and that controversial ending with the Holly cousins and Taz. 2001, on an episode of SmackDown, Jeff Hardy beating Triple H for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. He was the referee for that. And, he was another no-nonsense referee. He did not take any guff from anybody, just like Dave Hebner didn't. And, of course, he was also involved in the very first SummerSlam in 1988, refereeing a match He refereed a few matches that night. Ravishing Rick Rude against the Junkyard Dog. I remember he was the referee for that. He also refereed the match with Jake the Snake Roberts and Hercules. He was the referee for that match too. And he refereed all the other big shows, Superstars, Wrestling Challenge, Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, several of them. A very well-known, well-beloved referee, and this definitely hits close to home for myself and Bullock because he was from Rhode Island, and but after refereeing, he served as the man who was in charge of personal appearances for the Superstars. He would go on the road with the Superstars and lay the groundwork and the agenda for their appearances, and very well liked, well respected, and both of these men are going to be sorely missed. And on behalf of all of us here at Talking Wrestling TXN, not just myself and Bullock, but I'm sure good old MF Michael Fletcher and the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson, I know they said that they share their sentiments as well. Our thoughts and prayers and condolences to the families, friends, and colleagues, and all who were fortunate enough to work with these two legendary referees, Dave Hebner and Tim White. And also, as we always say, to Dave Hebner and Tim White, we simply say thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for Dave Hebner and Tim White, two of the greatest and most well-known referees in the history of professional wrestling. And we thank both of you for everything you all did for the business that we've grown up and watched since we were little kids. So there isn't much more to say on my end. Michael Bullock, come on in. It was a very hard week in the world of professional wrestling last week. Those unfortunate headlines involving Jeff Hardy and Vince McMahon, and it worked, but it did. With the tragic passing, the sudden out of nowhere passings of two of the greatest legendary referees in the history of professional wrestling, Dave Hebner, Tim White. And I understand that you have a very interesting and fun Tim White story that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I did remember, obviously, Dave Hebner, obviously, for that, when he had the controversial pinfall in that Andre and Hulk Hogan match. I mean, that was, and of course, he refereed a lot of other good matches. So, yeah, I mean, thoughts and prayers definitely go out to the entire Hebner family, and I did catch that moment with Earl and Brian Hebner. I mean, that was definitely a touching moment, a touching tribute by the two. And Tim White, I mean, a sad way to end when, of course, that Hell in a Cell match, and he's refereed a lot of really good matches. But the story that Anthony Floyer was talking about, well, I've actually had the chance to run into Tim White a few times at the East Providence Stop and Shop. I've seen him grocery shop there. Well, obviously, of course, like you said, he is from Rhode Island, and there were times I actually had a nice little conversation with him. And I mean, that's something now now that I look back now after his passing, is something I'll never forget, to actually have a conversation with a man who was once a WWE referee and knows everything about the company. I mean, that was definitely something I'll never forget. And he was definitely one of the most respected guys. He was definitely a nice guy. I mean, just to have a few minutes just to chat with me about WWE it's something I'll never forget. I mean, yeah, last week was definitely a hard times week with the scandals of Jeff Hardy and Vince McMahon, and now with this. I mean, we lose two of the most classiest referees out there, and like you said, Florio, two referees that don't take crap from anybody. So my thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Hebner and White family, and like you said, the Tim White passing hits home for you and me, Florio, since he is from Rhode Island, and yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. I mean, as hard as it is to move on, Florio, we have to, and we know Dave Hebner and Tim White would definitely want us to talk about what we all like to talk about, and that's wrestling.
Amen to that. And one other thing I forgot to mention about both of these men that just came to my mind. Dave Hebner, of course, in addition to being the referee for Macho Man and Steamboat at WrestleMania 3, he also refereed on that same day and night, was also the referee of the infamous hair versus hair match with Rowdy Roddy Piper and the adorable Adrian Adonis. And also he served as the referee for the match with Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes. And the bloody ending of that match. And of course, Tim White, had that lunchtime suicide thing that, they always did, right around 0506. I mean, I wasn't really a fan of that, to be honest with you, but, some people actually enjoyed it. I don't know why, but they did. But other than that, I mean, two legends that may be gone, but they're never going to be forgotten. And we wish their families and friends and all of our prayers and condolences and our love go out to all of you. And I'll elaborate a little more on that special moment with the Hebners when I do my special Tony's Take in a little bit. So that's the story. So with that, now we move on to of course, Monday Night Raw, the penultimate edition of Monday Night Raw from Lincoln, Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, the Pinnacle Arena. I think that's the name of the arena that it was in. And I'll do my usual setup here. The build-up continued this week for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view with more qualifying bouts to see who would compete in the title or ladder matches at the event. We also saw Elias return to Raw for the first time in several months to reunite with his brother Ezekiel for a special concert. And let's take a look at everything that happened on tonight's Monday Night Raw as we inch closer to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That'll go down on Saturday, July 2nd from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And all right, and we're going to start it off. Well, we started it off with an in-ring Pinnacle Bank Arena, Lincoln, Nebraska. That's where we were tonight, on the campus of the University of Nebraska. And we started it off in-ring segment. It was the Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. And, of course, news came out just literally right at the 11th hour, just as Raw was about to come on the air. News came out that Rhea Ripley will not be challenging Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship at Money in the Bank after all. Because we don't know if it's an injury or what the story is, but Bianca cut a promo and she announced that it was going to be a fatal 5-way match between Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Carmella, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. And the winner of that match will take Rhea Ripley's spot in the Raw Women's Championship match against Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank. So we're going to go right into that match, that fatal 5-way matchup. The winner of the match in 12 and a half minutes and moving on to Money in the Bank to challenge Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, it's Carmella. Carmella wins the match. This bout was basically a series of different combinations of opponents with the occasional multi-woman spot with 3 or more competitors. It was the usual setup for this kind of match. Most of the time, only 2 people were in the ring at the same time. We saw some good athleticism and creative spots, but something about it kept us from going from good to great. Maybe they played it too safe. Maybe there were too many moving parts. It's hard to say. Carmella ended up scoring the win with a super kick to Morgan to earn herself the title shot. I know there's a lot of people that's not going to like it, but the thing is, Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan are both in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. They qualified a week ago, and they obviously wanted to save Becky and Asuka for later, and that's exactly what they did. So Carmella was the choice. I mean, it's not the most popular outcome, but it's fine for a short notice match on a show that will be carried by the Money in the Bank ladder matches anyway. So that's really all there is to say on this. I'm going to give this about 3.25 to 3.5 stars for the effort. One of the fights of the night for me, so there's no doubt about that. So with that being said, Michael Bullock, the promo was so. You know, Bianca setting it up, and then all the other challengers came out. You know, blah blah, whatever. We're not going to waste time on that. But Carmella gets the title shot. I know it's not the most popular outcome, but they basically had no choice here.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, they basically had no choice. I mean, because like you said, with Asuka and Becky facing off in a Money in the Bank qualifying match later on, and Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss already in there, they had to put Carmella in there, even though, like you said, I mean, and I said too, it's not a popular choice, but WWE did what they had to do. So 3.25 stars, I do agree. And the promo, like you said, was definitely was just so. So nothing more to say. It's yours.
And then, fresh off his appearance on Friday Night SmackDown this past Friday night, he came back again. Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon makes another appearance on Monday Night Raw. This time it was an unannounced appearance, unlike Friday when they hyped it. This time he showed up unannounced, obviously testing the waters to see the crowd reaction after his recent scandal came out last week. And it was basically almost the same as what we saw on Friday. The only difference was he put over John Cena, because, you know, John Cena will be back on Raw next week to celebrate his 20th anniversary with WWE. And you know that's going to pop a rating, no doubt about that. So that's really all there was to say there. Then we had a men's Money in the Bank qualifying match. It was Riddle squaring off against Omos. Winner of the match, 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Omos goes over. Bullock, obviously, I mean, we're not going to really talk about the match, but Riddle cuts a promo. You know, Riddle, you know, he gave Roman Reigns one hell of a try the other night. Unfortunately, he came up short. But Bullock, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. Look who you got joining you. Oh, boy. New favorite.
And I say right now, he is the favorite, Florio. I mean, I just don't see how Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins, and whoever in the world, whoever joins these guys, I mean, and you know they always try to target the Money in the Bank, but if I'm going to be quite honest with you, Florio, I think the other combatants should target Omos and basically get rid of him. Because if they don't work together to take this guy out, this man could win this Money in the Bank ladder match. But obviously, the only question is, will there be a ladder big enough for him to climb? So, yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to add. So, it's yours.
Yeah, and then from there, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Omos is definitely the favorite here. He's definitely going to be the odds-on favorite, no doubt about it. And obviously the match was like 1.5, maybe even 2, but decent fight. But I mean, Omos scored the win to earn the spot. Putting Omos in the ring with guys like Riddle is a good move. They can do a bunch of their big spots. Giant can catch them and throw them around. Giants just work better with guys who are not powerhouses in their own right. So it looks like they're building towards a Rollins and Riddle feud, which I think is a good next move for both men. No matter who comes out on top, the fans will get some good matches out of it. So, we'll wait and see on that. So, yeah, Omos, most assuredly, on paper, he is the favorite. But, we're going to have to wait and see because of the size and the powerhouse and everything else. So, then we had, and then Rollins cut a promo afterwards, and that's all there is to say on that. And then Theory comes out, did another. Yeah, he recreated the pose down from last week, but then Bobby Lashley interrupted him, and Bobby Lashley got the best of him, and the fans, or I should say, Theory was so angry that he went to Adam Pearce and he demanded that Lashley earn his title opportunity. And a match was announced tonight. Bobby Lashley to run the gauntlet against 3 opponents. And if Lashley could win against all 3 opponents in succession, then Bobby Lashley will face Theory for the U.S. title at Money in the Bank. Then we had Angelo Dawkins versus Jey Uso. Angelo Dawkins wins the match. I don't have a time of the fall, unfortunately. I'll try my best to get it. So I'll before I give it to you, Bullock, I'm gonna do my best to find the time of the fall for you so we can work off it. So just one moment here. I'll get it. Okay. Okay, hold on. Blah, blah, blah. Nope. I do apologize. I'm trying to find the time of the fall here. I'm not having much luck here. I might have it here. Let's see. 7 minutes and 20 seconds. There we go. Okay. All right, Bullock. Angelo Dawkins defeating Jey Uso. 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Big win for Angelo Dawkins and definitely some much needed momentum for the Street Profits going into their huge undisputed tag title match with the Usos at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, definitely a big win for Angelo Dawkins, and to give him and Montez Ford some momentum going into their undisputed tag title match against the Usos. So I'll give this about maybe 2.5 stars. I mean, part of me wanted to see more, but it was fine for what it was and the amount of time it did get. So yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to add. So it's yours.
Yeah, this yeah, solid match here. It wasn't much to it, but that's not surprising. It's the same idea that we have seen time after time as WWE's ability to book a tag feud continues to be more or less horrible. It does give the Profits a bit of momentum, but it's not like this is some great idea. Just get on with it and give us what should be a nice tag match at the pay-per-view that's got show stealer potential. 2.5, 2 3/4. That's the best I can do. Then we had the Elias concert there. Kevin Owens interrupted it, and Elias got the best of Kevin Owens there with the guitar. So we're not gonna waste any time on that. Then it was Bobby Lashley running the gauntlet. His first opponent, Mr. Shush of the Alpha Academy, that being Chad Gable. And then it was Otis, and it was also Theory. And he defeats Chad Gable in 5 minutes and 42 seconds via the Hurt Lock submission. And then at 14:22 of the match, he defeats Otis by disqualification after Chad Gable gets involved. And then at 16, and then in a total time of 16 minutes and 44 seconds against Theory, Lashley pins Theory with a unique pinning combination. So Bobby Lashley does it. He runs the gauntlet, and he will now face Theory for the United States Heavyweight Championship at Money in the Bank. I'll tell you what, Gable was first up, and he tried to use his technical ability, but Lashley was just as technically sound and twice as strong. So Gable was the underdog in several ways. The Almighty obviously defeated and moved on to face Otis, which he also defeated. And then Alpha Academy made sure to leave Lashley as hurt as possible before Theory came down as the final opponent. And after surviving a short onslaught, Lashley used an improvised roll-up to score the win and earn a title shot. Whenever Gable faces someone who is even close to his level of technical ability, it's always entertaining. WWE should just be putting him in 15-minute matches every week. That's just how I feel about it. But other than that, I'm going to give this about, on the whole, I'm going to give this about 3 to 3.25 stars, mostly for the Lashley and Gable stuff. The Otis stuff was all right. I mean, it was just there, and then it was a quick one for the Theory. So I'll give it about 3 to 3.25 for the overall effort. But Bullock, it's only 3 to 3.25, mainly because of the match with Gable. I thought that the Gable match that Lashley had with Chad Gable was the best one of the three.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the best one out of the three. I mean, the one with Otis and Theory, I mean, it was just there. I mean, yeah, 3.25 is my rating, just because this was Chad Gable we're talking about here. But no matter what, I mean, Bobby Lashley now seals his United title opportunity against Theory, and a quick thing you forgot to mention, Florio, during that the pose down.
I forget.
You mentioned something that Theory brought up.
Oh yes, John Cena. Yes, he brought up John Cena, and he said that Cena's time was up, but his time was now.
Yeah, and if that doesn't spill John Cena and Theory going down at SummerSlam, I don't know what is. I mean, how many times can Theory poke the bear? I mean, because you're poking at a 16-time world champion, a man who's been one of the faces of WWE for what will now be 20 years. All I can say is Theory. I mean, well, you got your chance to back it up and come next week, because, as you all know, he's returning next week. John Cena returns to mark 20 years, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. Mark it down. SummerSlam, Cena versus Theory. It's yours.
All right. Then it was a Miz TV segment. His guest was AJ Styles, interrupted by Ciampa at the end. Ciampa attacked AJ after the segment, and it led into a match. Ciampa versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles wins the match, 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Obviously, I think we're in agreement here. It was a fun little sprint, but boy, howdy, it could have been a lot more. If you had given these guys the proper amount of time, these two could have had a banger of a match. They really could have. But all we can do is all I can give this is about 2, maybe 2.5 for the effort, because it was a fun little sprint, and that's really all there is to say on that. And then there was an interview on the stage with Veer Mahan, and then the main event of the evening, the highly anticipated women's Money in the Bank qualifying match, Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Winner of the match, 12 minutes and 14 seconds. And going to Money in the Bank, it's Asuka. Asuka wins the match. Michael Bullock, there's no question about it. This, to me, I think this was, to us, no surprise, the fight of the night. These two just work so damn well together.
Yeah, this was definitely the fight of the night. I'll give it 3.5 stars. I mean, these two always seem to put on a very good match, and this was definitely another good example of it. I mean, the chemistry between these two is so good. And now Asuka seals her spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and basically, uh, what's next for Becky Lynch now? Because you saw after the match, I mean, she threw a damn temper tantrum. So what's next for big time Bex?
She went
So,
mental, man. She went mental. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean,
oh yeah, she did. She did.
it,
Yeah. So
it's a
who knows?
downward.
So
It's a downward spot. I mean, this is we've seen this with other superstars before. It's definitely. I think they're starting some sort of a losing streak angle with big time.
yeah, I definitely could see that going down. So 3.5 stars. It's yours.
We've seen this match multiple times in recent months, but it has never and has not worn out its welcome yet. It might not take much more to get to that point, but for now, strong main event as always. And these two just work so dang well together. It's insane. 3.5 stars, no doubt about it. Fight of the night for us. Another nothing show from Monday Night Raw here. I mean, we had some good matches, yes. I mean, both of the women's matches were good. The 5-way and the main event. Uso and Dawkins had a solid match. Fun little sprint with AJ and Ciampa. Some of the other segments could have been better, and matches could have been better. Good news was there was no 24/7 silliness, so that was good news. But other than that, it was a mixture of frustrating and boring, if I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to give this about 5 out of 10 for me. 50. It was a middle of the road show. But Bullock, I think business will finally pick up next week when John Cena comes back for his 20th anniversary celebration.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see it picking up with John Cena showing up, and of course with this being the final Raw before Money in the Bank. So 5 out of 10 for me. I'm with you. I mean, some of the matches were good, but like you said, it was just frustrating and boring. I mean, that's just how I feel as well about it. So nothing more to say. Let's get to your Tony Steak.
Very special one here tonight. As I am going to be giving you my exclusive thoughts of last night's Slammiversary pay-per-view from the Asylum in Nashville, Tennessee, as it was not just on pay-per-view, but it also was on Fight TV as well. So let's run it on down. For 20 years, Impact Wrestling has revolutionized the industry, introducing fans to stars who would go on to become giants in the professional wrestling business and changing the style of in-ring work for years to come. Sunday night in Nashville, Tennessee, the city where it all started, the company celebrated 2 decades with its annual Slammiversary pay-per-view, headlined by world champion Josh Alexander defending against top contender Eric Young. The card also featured the history-making Queen of the Mountain match for the Knockouts Championship, an Ultimate X match for Ace Austin's X Division Championship, and a star-studded 10-man tag team match pitting the Invaders from Ring of Honor, Honor No More, against the Impact Originals. Who emerged from the night's matches with their arms raised in victory? What did it mean for the future of the promotion? And what surprises did Impact officials have in store for the audience? Find out now with this exclusive recap of Slammiversary. We had a countdown to Slammiversary. We had 2 pre-show matches on this night. As it was for a minute here. All right. There we go. Okay. We had the match for the Impact Digital Media Championship. Rich Swann defending against Brian Myers. Winner of the match in 7 minutes and 10 seconds. And still the Impact Digital Media Champion. It was Rich Swann. Successfully defending. Then we had a reverse battle royal with Steve Macklin, Chris Bay, Shira, Bhupinder Gujar, Johnny Swinger, Ziggy Dice, David Young, Raj Singh, Shogun, Action Mike Jackson, Chase Stevens, Shark Boy, and Slash. Winner of the match in 9 minutes and 40 seconds, Shark Boy. Give me a shell. Yeah, he wins the match. He last eliminated Johnny Swinger to win the match. And now let's get on to the main card. Started it off with the Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. Ace Austin defending against Speedball Mike Bailey, Alex Zane, Andrew Everett, Kenny King of Honor No More, and Trey Miguel. Winner of the match in 9 minutes and 50 seconds. And new X Division champion, Speedball Mike Bailey, wins the title. Wow. All of the wild, chaotic action fans have come to expect from the match was present, with several moments of awe defining the opening contest. The spots were high and the risk higher, but so was the reward for Speedball. Speedball captured his first X Division championship, outlasting Austin late to earn his most significant win to date. Given the history that existed between the two, it was appropriate that even with the wealth of talent involved, it came down to them. Bailey defeated the newest member of Bullet Club, earned chance of You Deserve It, and put an exclamation point on the opener of the pay-per-view main card. It may not rank among the best Ultimate X bouts in company history, but it delivered everything expected of it with the feel-good finale. Hopefully, Andrew Everett is okay. He took a nasty bump near the end of the bout that saw him climb the top rope on his way down. He did not return to the action. 3.5, teetering on 3 3/4. Very fun match. After the match, a video message from Sting aired in which he discussed his favorite moments with Impact Wrestling. Then we had the Knockouts Tag Team Championship on the line. The champions, The Influence, Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood, defending against the Strange Bedfellows tag team, if you will, of Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. Winners of the match in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. And new Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. 2.5, 2 3/4. By default, it was the worst fight of the night, but it was a fun match that had nonstop action throughout. The outcome was noteworthy in that it brings Rosemary and Valkyrie back together for the foreseeable future, freshens things up in the Knockouts tag division, and ensures the latter will be sticking around for a bit. And it would not be surprising at all if the feud continues beyond the pay-per-view, considering it felt as if it was still in its infancy heading into the event. If that's the case, all 4 women should be able to build on and possibly eclipse what they accomplished here. And the win makes Rosemary a double champion. Because remember, Rosemary is the Reina de Reinas champion. So let's keep that in mind. So there isn't much more to say on that. So 2.5, 2 3/4, but by default, the worst fight of the night, even though it wasn't remotely bad. It was just that all the other matches were just that good. Then we had the Monsters Ball match. Sami Callihan versus Moose. Sami Callihan wins the match in an even 16 minutes. Wow. Arguably the most intense rivalry entering the show and carrying the Monsters Ball stipulation. There were lofty expectations for this one. It did not disappoint. It was appropriately physical and gruesome. Moose took some big bumps and really sold the hell out of everything Callihan threw at him. When the time called for it, he fired up and defiantly dared his foe to ramp up the attack if he hoped to beat him. Callihan did, pulling from the playbooks of the hardcore legends who came before him. Put Moose down for the win. Great brawl. And arguably, at that point, it was the fight of the night. This was easily 4 stars, teetering on 4 1/4. One of the fights of the night for sure. Then we had the Briscoes. Jay and Mark Briscoe defending the World Tag Team Championship against the Good Brothers. Winners of the match in an even 10 minutes. And once again, the new Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers. They regained the titles here last night. You can tell All in Impact brought their work boots on for the show. Good Brothers can be hit or miss, but they mesh so well with the Briscoes, elevating their own game to match that of their celebrated opposition. Damn good high drama match that had fans thinking they might see them boys retain the titles, only for Anderson and Gallows to crush their hopes and dreams and becoming 8-time World Tag Team Champions overall between Impact, WWE, and New Japan. The post-match appearance by America's Most Wanted, Wildcat Chris Harris and James Storm, was a great moment and played in the nostalgia that had been such a common theme throughout the broadcast. I'll give this 3 to 3.25 stars for the effort. So after the match and the AMW promo, Tom Hannafin and Matthew Waywalt, the announcers, threw a video package honoring the original voices of Impact, the great Mike Tenay and Don West, as a great team who was so incredibly significant to the early and continued success of the company by way of their ability to get over the stars and stories. Their contributions were endless, and the emotion painted on the faces of Hannafin and Waywalt afterward was indicative of the love, support, and respect that so many had for the greatest announced team in the history of Impact Wrestling, Mike Tenay and Don West. And I'll tell you, Hannafin and Waywalt, they're definitely making their way up as one of the greats, despite being together for only a short time. But they worked together when they were in WWE, Tom Phillips and Aiden English. But I know Impact Management is very high on their work, and rightfully so. And they're fun to listen to every week on Impact Wrestling, on Access TV and pay-per-views. So very, very well done tribute, no doubt. Then we had the 10-man tag team match, Honor No More squaring off against the Impact Wrestling Originals. Honor No More, Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, PCO, and Vincent, with Maria Kanellis in their corner squaring off against Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Frankie Kazarian, Nick Aldis, and their mystery partner, Davey Richards. Winners of the match, 18 minutes and 45 seconds, the Impact Originals. And this was the match where Earl Hebner counted the 1, 2, 3 for the Impact Originals for the win. Very much the epitome of Impact Wrestling wrapped up in one match. It was wild, chaotic, hard to track at times, and definitely overbooked. It was also action-packed, featured some of the best wrestlers in the world, and brought with it unbridled energy. The feel-good moments toward the end and the Impact Originals emerging victorious helped elevate this one exponentially. Great match? No, but easily one of the most fun any fan will see this year, with a ton of heart to boot. I'm going to give it a solid 4 stars for the effort. And Hebner, just 2 days removed from losing his twin brother Dave, entered the ring and counted the 1, 2, 3. Bittersweet moment for the most legendary referee in professional wrestling history. And you saw that beautiful moment with Earl and Brian Hebner pointing up to the heavens, not just in respect of their brother and uncle Dave, but also for Tim White as well. They said it was also for Tim White as well, because, Earl Hebner and Tim White, very good friends from their days in WWE. They were the top 2 officials back then. So beautiful moment. Then we had the first ever Queen of the Mountain match for the Knockouts World Championship. Mickie James, the special guest enforcer, the champion Tasha Steelz, defending against Jordynne Grace, Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, and Mia Yim. Winner of the match in 18 minutes and 15 seconds, and new Knockouts World Champion for a second time. It is Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace, the new champion. The bout has always been one of the more convoluted in wrestling, with too many rules to keep straight, and the gimmick of the penalty box, seemingly for the sake of it. Working in and around it can be a difficult task for anyone. Sunday night, the Knockouts embraced the challenge and delivered a hellishly wild match. It was hard-hitting and as physical as any other match on the card. Featured some solid story elements, including special enforcer Mickie James, letting her bias get in the way, and Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo loosely forming a partnership. It also highlighted all 5 combatants extremely well. Tasha Steelz took an ass whooping, selling everything expertly and looking like the star she is, even as she more closely portrayed a tackling dummy. As Jordynne Grace ramped up the intensity, the crowd got more and more behind her. By the time she exploded out of the penalty box late, they were ready for her to capture the title that has eluded her for 2 years. She did, and will almost immediately be confronted with the challenge of one of the most talented rosters in all of women's wrestling. This was another 4 to 4.25 star match. Very well done, to say the very least. And that's really all there is to say there. But a couple of noticeable things. Mia Yim took a nasty bump onto the ladder, one of those the viewer feels sympathy pains for at home. And then Mia Yim sent Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo crashing off a ladder and through a table at ringside in the biggest bump of the bout. So, Yeah, 4.25 stars for this, no doubt. And then the main event of the evening for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship, the champion Josh Alexander defending against Eric Young. Winner of the match, 18 minutes and 50 seconds, and still the Impact World Heavyweight Champion, the walking weapon, Josh Alexander, retains the title. In a match that looked back to the men who helped lay the foundation for Impact Wrestling, it was the trademark finisher of the company's present and future top star that earned them the win and put an exclamation point on the proceedings. A great match that started slow but picked up exponentially a quarter of the way through was more than deserving of its place on the card, and further evidence that Josh Alexander is as hot an in-ring performer in 2022 as anyone. Kudos to EY too, because he repeatedly shows up and shows out in these big match situations. Young is one of the most trustworthy performers in the country, dating back to his days in Team Canada, and as the scaredy cat underdog of the promotion, and as a master resume that does not get nearly the respect it deserves. Give EY his flowers, man. Fight of the night for me. I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. The nods to the icons of Impact Wrestling were fantastic. Alexander has repeatedly expressed his fandom for the promotion during his young years, and Young competed against so many of them throughout his Hall of Fame-worthy career in Impact. The angle slam to Joe Doring off the apron and through the table at ringside was a great spot and eliminated the big man from the equation. Young blasted Alexander with a guitar, another ode to Jeff Jarrett, who was conspicuous by his absence all night long. And the finish with Alexander turning to his own arsenal to finally exercise the demon that was Young was a great bit of storytelling. 4.5 stars. Overall, I got to give this between 8 and 8.5 out of 10. This was a very well done show. All the matches were solid to good to great. They had some nice surprises and video packages. I mean, we heard from Sting. We also heard from Kurt Angle. And we even heard from the phenomenal AJ Styles, despite the fact that he's under WWE contract. And AJ even addressed it during that video. And he says, I want to thank WWE for allowing me to do this. And yeah, that was very nice of WWE to let AJ film that video and pay his respects to the company that literally put him on the map. And literally, you know, he was one of the greatest and biggest stars in the history of Impact Wrestling. And it wouldn't be where it is today without the phenomenal AJ Styles, because he was the heart and soul of that company for many, many years before he went to Japan and Ring of Honor, and then eventually where he is now in the WWE. So, yeah, very well done show. There is no question about that. So with that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. We'll be back with you Wednesday Night Madness. I don't know if it's going to be here on the Zone 25 or if it's going to be on MF's channel. But Wednesday night, there will be Wednesday Night Madness, as we'll have our reviews of NXT 2.0 and AEW Dynamite as usual. Not sure if we're going to have TXN Sports World. I don't know if we have anything on the docket. If we do, then we'll do something. But if not, then it'll be only for this week, because we'll be back the following week on the 30th with our recap, our annual NBA draft recap show. And then Friday night, of course, we got SmackDown, Cerebral Smack Talk, rather, where we will review Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage, and of course, we will also preview the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door pay-per-view that goes down this Sunday night at the United Center in Chicago. So that will put the bow on this. So before we go, we want to once again, one last time, we want to pay our final respects to Dave Hebner and Tim White, who two of the greatest referees that the professional wrestling business ever saw, and two men who will be greatly missed, and we will never forget their contributions in and outside of the business as well. So until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Madness, Anthony Floyer here on behalf of all of us here at Talking Wrestling TXN. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, the Phenom Michael Bullock, the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Madness, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube and streaming.com. And remember, as I always say, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And to Tim White and Dave Hebner, we simply say thank you. Once again, we simply say thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And thank you for Dave Hebner and Tim White. Good night.